Benetau's Gran Turismo 45 was introduced to much acclaim in the middle of 2021, but now in 2022 we're into June again, and this is the first one into the UK here at the British Motor Yacht Show. And we got the chance to jump on board and have a quick look. So, stepping onto that enormous high-low platform, that's about 50 square feet there. It's capable of carrying, or lifting should I say, 350 kilos. So that's a major upgrade on previous models. And you'll see, even though the basic shape of the boat is quite symmetrical further forward, we've got an asymmetrical aft end with a narrow starboard walkway, an offset sunbed, and a big wide port walkway up into that cockpit space. Rather cleverly, the guys at Beneteau have fixed it such that the shore power is popped in under that step there on the starboard side, which means that that cable is kept well out of harm's way and the port walkways kept completely clear. And we have engine access obviously down there. We also have, though, engine access beneath the sunbed itself, beneath the tender garage itself, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. But first, let's have a quick look at this optional barbecue area. And that's pretty cool, isn't it? Keeps the smells and the splashes and the heat and the mess well away from the guests in the cockpit and in the saloon. Slightly divorces the chef from the party, but not critically. It's a nice solution, and as you'll see when you step into the saloon, it frees up a bit of space there on the port side to do other things. Now if we close that back up, and let's lift up the tender garage and have a quick look in there. Move back down and have a little peek. Now there's plenty of space in there. There's also a winch, and as you can see, a remote control. There's also an inflator in here, a powered inflator, but nobody seems to be able to find it. This boat only arrived last week, so like many of the other boats at the show, a couple of bits here and there are not where and quite how they should be. But it's a very tidy space back here. And of course, because you've got that big swim platform, the big high-low platform aft, you can instead use that tender garage for the storage of all kinds of gear. Your stand-up paddle boards, your fishing gear, your inflatables, your bits and bobs. And immediately we walk into another rather lovely feature there in terms of the integration of the internal saloon space and the external cockpit. We'll come to that in a second, but first let's have a little walk up and round the side walkways, which, as I say, are symmetrical. I mean, there's a decent height of rail. It leans slightly outboard, and there's no dedicated grab rail up top here. And the superstructure here does slightly protrude. It's not the most secure feeling space in the world, but it's entirely serviceable if you're a bit less clumsy than me. And up at the bow we have a nice long pair of sunbeds with stainless steel cup holders, and we got these easy to use backrests that you can elevate entirely to sit up like a chair or lounge back as a chaise longue, or just lie down and bask in the sun, plus the integrated bimini for getting over the top for a bit of shade. Anchor with electric windlass and remote control. And I have to say, actually, I hope the camera picks it up, but it's a fine looking boat. Very raked screen, quite aggressive looking, which is nice to see. Okay. Now, of course, as we move into this main saloon, we've got a lovely big seating area to starboard. Now this table obviously folds out. Okay, it's dining for, I would say, at least 8 or 9 people, possibly more, particularly if you just whack a couple of benches in here, a couple of stools I should say. But it's equipped to carry 12 and sleep up to 6, and it feels that way inside this saloon space. Now, we've seen this on other boats, and it's equally well done here, albeit with a slightly different solution. So we have a window above the bench seat, and to port we have quite simply a door that you can open and secure in place. The window itself, rather than receding down into the mouldings here, is quite an elegant solution. It's a bit simpler, less complex than other solutions I've seen. But if we hit that button just on the aft edge of the galley unit, we can see that closes all the way down. I won't do it all the way down because I'll trap some cushions, but certainly get the idea. And as on other models we've seen here at this show, it means you can basically secure the entire internal saloon and enjoy air conditioning, which is not yet fitted on this boat actually. Or you can open it up both aft with that window and that door, to the side with these sliding windows, and overhead with an absolutely enormous sunroof. Now that sunroof, I don't think that sunroof generally comes with glass inserts in it. It's a fixed GRP thing that comes as part of the starboard package, part of the standard package. But you can have glass inserts popped into the sunroof to keep the natural light up to scratch when you got it closed over. Now we've got a compact galley unit to port here, and because we got the barbecue on the aft end, the trailing edge of the tender garage, we've got a work surface here instead, which makes good sense because they're always in short supply. And a sink, and down below here we have an ice maker and a bin. Now it is a very nice setup here, but this table does not drop down into that space, so this is not convertible into a big sun pad, but you do of course have that space further aft, so it's not a major problem. As you move forward, we've got the Fusion stereo and an isotherm fridge down below. And at the helm station itself, we have space for 3 people to sit beneath that enormous sunroof. We also have a rather natty colour to the mouldings on the dash. And it's quite dramatic, quite striking. I think if it were me, I'd go for something much paler and more neutral, not just for my own enjoyment, but particularly for resale. Those things tend to be a Marmite situation, bright hull colours and bright colours on your dash. The helm though is a very relaxed place to be, as you would expect with twin IPS 600s, so we've got joystick control. We've also got a bow thruster here, an enormous MFD at the dash. A bit of glare off the dash actually because it's quite glossy and clean. Something a little more matte would be good there, but it's nice to see the compass pretty much in eye line for driving. Okay, as you move down below, around a curved staircase, which is quite a neat trick because it opens up a bit more fore and aft space. It's nicely used for the port galley where you've got a fridge freezer. Nicely lit surfaces without too much in the way of blinding direct light. An opening porthole, a 2-ring stove, a sink and a bin. There's plenty of headroom here too, and if you look directly above, what we have here is an enormous glass section that takes full advantage of that rate screen I spoke about earlier to introduce loads of light down here. Let's close that door over and have a look over on the starboard side. This is actually quite conventional, and it's none the worse for that. A nice dining area that can be converted into a double bed, or you can spec that as a 3rd cabin with bunks. A little bit of overhead storage there, not so on the port side for the galley, but we do get a little bit there. Now moving forward, what we have in the guest double is actually a scissor berth, so you can split it into 2 singles, one on either side, so there's no storage underneath there. There are nice little shelves on either side to keep your personal gear, and a little hatch for a bit of extra light. Decent sized windows too on both sides. Storage is fairly limited in here, so you have to be tidy if you plan on a decent length of cruise. And as we move back through, open the door to port. Between the galley and the forward cabin, we have the day heads. It's a really good size, with a toilet and an opening window, a bit more storage, a sink and a shower with a neat little concertina door to cordon it off. Headroom again is very impressive. Let's close that up. Now through to the aft cabin, and the doors click into place with their magnetic holders. You'll see in the floor we've got little hatches, so you can access the various pipes and cables and pumps and so on. Now the en-suite facilities broadly mirror those of the day heads, except for the fact you get a bigger shower with 2 doors that come together in the centre. Now a bit more space for your toilet and some really good light there. Storage under your sink too, and a couple of hangers. Now as we move back through to the full beam master cabin, it's a good size of bed. It's easy space to move around it, notwithstanding a couple of steps up and down. And on both sides you have storage boxes rather than settees, and they're pretty full up already. I'm sure there could be the option for a settee. There looks like sufficient space to enable a chaise longue of some sort on the port side. There's also a small hanging locker, but hanging space really is a bit of a premium on this boat, so you might want to find another solution for factoring some extra in, or else just wear crumpled t-shirts. but the ambient lighting is very nice. Let's go and take a quick look at the engine room. There we are. Let's climb down into here and check it out. It's good access. And there we are. 2 IPS 600s with pod drives. It's pretty spacious in here, particularly given that I think, yeah, there's access in the floor of that tender garage, so you can get straight down to that starboard engine, no problem at all. The only things to add in here would be air conditioning units, which have not yet been fitted, and a 7 kilowatt generator, which is yet to come. The generator would go forward of the engines, and presumably the air conditioning units on one other side. It's impressively large, easy to access, and quite neatly arranged. So there we have it. That's Beneteau's Gran Turismo 45. It does a great many of the things that have led us to enjoy so much about the Gran Turismo line in the past, and equipped with these twin IPS 600s, 440 horsepower each. It's pretty quick too. 32 knots top end, 185 nautical mile range at around 26 knots, and it can be yours for an on the water price including VAT of about £780,000. In today's market, that's pretty good value.